chill. Ching chang ching lutilej. Omkring ham dalede sneen hvid. Ching chang ching lutilej.
Welcome to the topic of the episode show, as we call it, TOTES. I'm Patrick.
Hashtag TOTES.
Yeah.
I'm Kevin.
Yeah, and we're giving you TOTES because we gave you gaming news already. Now we're giving you topic of the episode show, and the topic of the episode show this week, the topic is MMOs and MMO stories. So, what are some of your favorite, massive multiplayer online stories or multiplayer? Like community stories.
Because like when I'm playing a single player game, basically I'm experiencing the story as the developer did it, or my telltale decisions or whatever. But when it comes to MMOs, there is an ability for me to be able to create a story for other people, or to experience a story with other people in a way that you really don't get to do in single player games or like competitive online. It's like if you get a really sweet Junkrat kill or something, it's like, hey, this was a thing that happened one time, but that's not your character. And in MMOs, we get to create characters, we get to create their lives, their backstories, all of that stuff. And I really enjoy that. And so that's something that I wanted to bring up. Duncan from our Facebook page, who, and I think I've told this story on the channel before, but this dude role-playing, in a role-playing guild, there was a competition to say who was the best role player, and it came down to a runoff between two characters, both of whom were Duncan, and nobody knew it.
Oh, that's brilliant!
That's how good this guy is, and he had like all these different characters. One of my favorites was he had a little halfling cleric. And I don't know how he managed to do this while healing, because that's like a critical job, and it's a time intensive, and you need to be focused. But that character's thing was singing bawdy ballads while we were fighting. And so my favorite one, and I'm going to see if I can do this without messing it up, is, I'm not the pheasant plucker, I'm the pheasant plucker's mate, and I'm only plucking pheasants because the pheasant plucker's late.
Did he macro this? I mean, how?
I don't know. Maybe it was between polls, but like, sing that 3 times if you don't get it, and you'll get it. Okay, so he said EverQuest, which I played for about 10 years, had a great story that players had to collect the pieces of information as they followed the ancient trail of a man obsessed with magic and power. Yeah. A sorcerer named Miragul traveled the lands and took on many identities to learn all the schools of magic. As he grew older and more frail, he worked out a way to make himself immortal by putting his soul into a crystal and turning himself into a lich. His plan didn't quite work, as his body, that's an understatement, as his body wandered the wastes aimlessly while his consciousness watched helplessly, trapped in the crystal for eternity. Yeah. And that's another thing, is like the lore can be really amazing if you dig into it, because like most of the time it's like, hey, go give me 5 rabbit pelts or whatever, but like they can go deep.
It can go deep because you're playing the game for 50, 100, 200 hours at minimum. I mean, some people put thousands of hours, have easily put thousands of hours into World of Warcraft and other games, and I think EverQuest and Star Wars Galaxies, and there's others that gave you enough open that you are playing in their world, but your character's story matters. And I think as great as World of Warcraft is, it's not as much about you as your person, as much as you're trying to make it about you, but everybody's kind of doing the same story. Everybody fought this, everybody did this, everybody, like, the uniqueness is a little bit more limited in the way that they've crafted World of Warcraft. That being said, it's a good balance of the two. But I did like in Star Wars Galaxies the openness of the cities, and by that I mean you could have thousands of people hanging out in Mos Eisley. And it wasn't everyone walking through each other. It looked natural, and to be able to hang out in a cantina and to be able to go to places with people in character and experience it, there was enough not downtime, but there was enough openness that you could explore your character really well, as opposed to like every 30 or 40 seconds we're in another battle and of course whatever character they're talking to, being the person who's playing, is the one who's going to save everything.
Well, see, and dance parties, because Destiny, we love you, but Star Wars Galaxies and World of Warcraft did it first.
Yes, the dance parties in there, and that's the other thing that I like. We're talking about the community, talking about the interaction. The Star Wars dance parties, you had people dancing, but you had musicians. That was a thing you could do in the game. So you had bands,
so much fun.
And if you learned a musical instrument, and you could have a band, you could get a band together. There was a band that played every weekend that I went and hung out and listened to.
Yeah.
Yes, I know they were playing the music off the computer. Dude, shut up. Those people were sitting there, and
they had chosen to take the time to make this a thing for the enjoyment of other people.
Yeah.
And that's the main thrust that I wanted to get to with this topic, is the idea of making stories for other people and having a video game way to do that, because like you can do story jams or smash poetry, or you can do D&D, whatever, but this enabled us, like Duncan and I have met. I don't remember where he lives, but like we met in Tennessee.
Sure.
Neither one of us lives in Tennessee, but like that type of community and that type of creativity across a wider swath than I had seen anywhere else.
It brings, before we can do it now, there's programs like Roll20 and others that you can get a group, a D&D group together. But before that, this was a way you could bring in people from any part of the world and talk to them, and like it didn't matter what their knowledge, it didn't matter what their math skills or their storytelling ability. What mattered was just them playing the game, and one way or another it creates these interesting dynamics. And I mean, I had when I was playing Star Wars Galaxies, I had a girl that I had a quasi online relationship with a girl, and I, for multiple reasons, didn't play the game and came back and found out she got married, not in real life, in the game, because we were quasi dating for a while.
Right.
I said I wasn't going to be, probably wasn't going to be playing. Left, and then like a year and a half later, I came back and she was married, and I felt that emotion.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I left her. But it's interesting because I know, and I still know, like only like 3 things about her in real life.
Okay.
Right. And one of the interesting things about it was that she cleaned like hotels and rental houses and stuff like that. She was part of she had her own business that did that, and she went in and like cleaned these places, and the only reason that she did that was so that she could play the game, because it got her a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
And she even got like certified to do hazard spill cleanup. So like if there was a death, like you can't just sell it. So you have people come in there. So like she did that in Canada. In Canada. And my girlfriend who lives in Canada, right? So, but she did that, and like when she wasn't doing that, she loved it because she did that all during the day. So from like 3 p.m. on, she could play Star Wars Galaxies, and like that's the bulk of what I knew about her there. But her character, I knew her character really well, and she knew my character really well.
Okay,
it was really cool.
So this is the story that I teased on Facebook.
Yeah.
This is a happier romantic story. Spoilers. So we had a meeting place. We found a pocket where, even though it was underwater, they hadn't coded it properly, and there was a little pocket where you could breathe. Everybody could breathe just fine. And so we would have our meetings down there, so we wouldn't have a bunch of jerks running through and doing stuff.
Yeah.
But this was back before like fast travel kind of existed.
Okay.
Like you could go to regions.
Gotcha.
But you
were
had
still going 20-30 minutes or whatever.
Right, and you had to sit and wait at a portal for like a 10-15 minute timer, and then that warps you to the place, and then you run to the other place.
Okay.
So at this point I had created Analog. who was a mute barbarian rogue, which means he's like 7 foot tall. And so I emoted everything. I would emote like waves hands or gestures negatively, things like that. And only twice in the year and a half that I played him did he speak. Both of those times were in guild chat, and they were, "Hey, Beld. Dang it, I'm not supposed to talk." but like out loud, that character never spoke. And I love that. That's because cool. it was a really challenging thing to do, especially when it came time. As part of this guild, we all told our origin stories.
Yeah,
that was tough, but I did it. Okay, so I'm waiting to go down, actually, to that meeting.
Okay,
where I told that story. So I sit down and I'm waiting for the portal to go off, and this little halfling comes in, which are hobbits, but legally distinct from hobbits, so we don't get sued.
Yeah. And
so this halfling comes in. She's like, "Hi, how are you?" And I'm waving nicely, and she just starts talking, and talked and like I'm gesturing, I'm showing interest. I mean, there's nothing else to do. So this is just a moment to role play.
Sure.
And so I'm doing all these things and listening intently and smiling, nodding, shaking my head in disgust. However it was appropriate for the story that she was telling. And then we had like a 10-12 minute run, and at this point I wasn't tagged as a member of the guild yet because I hadn't told my origin story to gain entrance for that character into the guild. So she didn't even know that we were going to the same place. I didn't know she was going there, she didn't know I was going there. And so like we get down to the ground, we start running, and so like I pointed ahead and looked at her questioningly. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going here, and then I'm going over here, and I'm gonna meet with the sigils now." And I pointed at myself and nodded, and she's like, "Oh, you too?" And she was like, "Oh, this is wonderful." And so like we grouped up, but even in group chat, he didn't speak.
Yeah,
it was only emotes. And so like they went forward and like they set out and they put out their bedrolls, and then like she rolled over in her bedroll to move closer to me before we set up camp for the night. And like they eventually. Like they got together, and like he would go away for a while when I was playing my main, and then he would come back, and like they had a relationship. And she was a girl in real life, and I actually had a discussion with her husband who also played, and I was like, "Look, this is developing really fast. This is going romantic. I am not interested in taking your wife from you. But I want to keep this going because I'm enjoying it, she's enjoying it, and
did her husband play?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he was a bard, and like my main character and her did not get along at all.
Did she know?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making
sure. Like they clashed so hard, and he just wanted her to shut up. But the mute barbarian rogue loved her.
Yeah.
And it was. I think that is still the best story I've ever told.
Yeah.
So we have one more comment from the. That's a lot of comment. Okay, World of Warcraft. 2 stories come to mind. I started playing WoW during the Lich King expansion and quickly became engrossed in raiding. When TOC dropped, I finally had enough gear to start applying to a more serious raiding guild. The fight that we were doing used a ranged DPS to tank one of the 3 bosses and protect themselves using shatter orbs. I was off tanking on my paladin. Toward the end of the fight, healers run out of mana. And our warlock tank dies. I reflexively taunt the boss, use my shield throw and hammer to grab some orbs, pop defensive cooldowns, and we managed to ride it out a few more seconds to get the first progression kill. Total rush. Cool. I liked raiding before that moment hooked me. Like in-game stuff that happens, and the more people are involved, like, were you there that time when this thing went down? And that's fun. During Dragon Soul heroic progression, our bear tank DCs and as a result doesn't pop cooldowns and dies. The boss hit hard and required tank switches. We were nearing the kill, but with no other tank to taunt. My death and a subsequent raid wipe were imminent. One of our DPS warriors and a DPS paladin were thinking quickly. DPS warrior leaps to one corner and taunts the boss. The pally goes to the other corner and taunts. Then I taunt. We managed to ping-pong taunt the boss around with the rest of the melee DPS chasing in range, pew-pewing away for the kill. Total improvisation for the kill, and I got a sweet trinket upgrade.
That's so cool.
Memories.
I had one action World of Warcraft. Well, there's a lot of stories of that I think would be interesting, but like I said, Warcraft is harder. There weren't as many hardcore role-playing people that were in there, and I regret not going to a role-playing server.
Yeah.
I think it would have been really fun, but I was waiting. There's a specific chest that pops, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 times a week. It pops. That's it. One person can grab it.
Yeah.
So I found online, okay, this is when it happens. And I looked, and one of them was like 1 or 2 in the morning or something. And I'm like, okay, that's going to be a time that less people go to.
Less competition.
I'm going to go to that. So I get there early because it's me. So I'm there like 30, 40 minutes early, watching TV while I'm sitting in the game, and someone else,
where a character's staring blankly ahead.
Yeah. So and I'm sitting, kind of looking. It's this arena thing, this empty arena.
Okay.
That there's nothing in the middle. There will be a chest, and someone else was waiting somewhere. I didn't realize that. I thought they were off questing, but I saw them pop over a ridge, and they left. They went away. They popped over another ridge, and they realized, oh, this guy's camping this. Too. So they come over and sit with me, and we're chatting, and we both know what we're going after.
Right.
But there was 10 minutes of chat before we were before she whatever said. So we got 10 more minutes before it happens. And then I was it was a while before.
I think
it was
at least
acknowledged.
15.
Before it was acknowledged, right?
Yeah.
And we went. So as soon as it popped, we did the good luck thing beforehand and everything, and we were like, all right, we're just basically gonna race to this thing.
Okay.
And he's a mage, so he has a blink that can get him forward. And I'm like, he's gonna use that. There's no way I can beat him. We both jump down, and as we jump down, I didn't see that there were a couple other people from the other side. We were playing Alliance. There were horde people that came out from the other side. They went in that they wanted it as well.
Right.
And they attacked him first because he's out in front.
Right.
And they didn't notice me until I was already going for at the chest, trying to open it. The chest popped. I get the item and die. It was a beautiful moment of not storytelling, but this community thing is going on, and all these people were trying to go for this thing, and they thought, okay, well, if we kill this guy, we got this. And they didn't see me running right behind. I don't know why they didn't. I'm a giant paladin, But MMOs allow you to tell stories like that, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments what some of your favorite MMOs are. And
also in the comments below will be more stories that I didn't have time for this week.
Yes.
So I'm going to post those.
Yes. Read them and enjoy.
Thanks.